Welcome, everyone, to this very first episode of Future Journalism Today Live. So glad you're joining. We're really glad and excited to be doing this today in these strange but also exciting times. And we would like to welcome you, especially you, dear viewer. We got Anne Mariah from Amsterdam and Tom from London. Welcome. Or whenever you're watching or listening. It's great to have you here and great to have you joining us here at this moment. Now, you may ask, what am I in for, Lawrence? Well, Future Journalism Today Live is an interactive live show that explores and shares best practices with innovators in journalism. And you can participate via the live chat, as Tom and Mariah had already done. You can do this right away if you like. Say hi, tell us where you're from, and don't hesitate to comment, ask questions, give praise to our guests. We'll do a live Q&A a bit later on in the show, and you can ask questions to our guests. Today's innovator in journalism on the show, Lovisa Bergström. She's a team lead and data scientist for Dagens Nyheter, a Swedish newspaper, and she will be joining us in a few short moments. Now, let me give you an overview of what we're going to do today. And I'll have to switch to the next screen. On the show today, we have, as I said, our first guest, innovator in journalism, Lovisa Bergström from Dagens Nyheter, a data scientist and team lead. Then after that, so you get to know Lovisa and what she does at Dagens Nyheter, and you get to ask questions via the live chat. Oh, that way, sorry. Then we'll be looking at the journalism industry together in our segment Lately in the Industry. Next, I've asked Lovisa to give some advice on what journalists should stop doing immediately, and of course to make it leave on a more positive note what they should start doing as of tomorrow. So she will give her insights and thoughts. Then we'll head into a live Q&A section, the session where Lovisa will try to answer your questions, and I will help if necessary. And we will finish off with some unboxing. Lovisa has brought one or two nice tools she uses, and she would like to give you a live demo. Always excited to see live demos live online, but also frightening. It's live, it can go wrong, but please stay tuned, and hoping you're having a wonderful show. So first up, we'll go to Lovisa, and that's our first guest. And Lovisa, it's wonderful to have you here as a guest. And let me switch to the screen and add Lovisa to the screen. Lovisa, welcome. And I hope we can all hear you. So Lovisa, a little bit of background. You and I met in 2019 in Brussels at the G&I Fellowship Bootcamp, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you shared some wonderful insights about what you've done. You talked about things you've done at Dagens Nyheter. And I was really impressed. And I was there attending in my former role as a teaching fellow for the Google News Lab, my former employer. And you were an ex-G&I fellow telling the new cohort what to expect and what to do. You'll be telling us more about that in a few moments. So for the full disclosure, besides this, we worked on a sprint. I helped facilitate the Google Sprint at Dagens Nyheter last December in Stockholm to help you and your team to create a new digital product. And maybe you will talk about that some more. But so again, viewers, please welcome Lovisa on the show and tell us what you do at DN, what a data scientist does, a little bit about yourself. What do you do at a Swedish newspaper? Please.
Yes. Hi, everyone, and thanks, Lawrence, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Lovisa Bergström, as you already said. I'm 26 years old. I live in Stockholm, and I've been at Dagens Nyheter for more than 3 years now. I would say that my path towards where I am today started already when I was 15 years old, and I was a young news junkie, and I started to work part-time for my local newspaper, Norrköpings Tidningar. And it was
right. And it's which part of Sweden is that?
I would say the lower part, but
Lower
Sweden
part.
is.
You were 15 already. 15 already working at the newspaper.
I did, yeah, at youth section. But it was a great way to start to get to know the industry and approach journalism. But I actually continued with engineering studies and took a bachelor's degree in computer science and a master's in strategy and governance. And I was really fascinated by how to make businesses survive and grow in the digital era, and both technically and strategically, and especially the news industry. I mean, as you know too, it has been forced to turn our businesses upside down within just a couple of years. And I think that's a really cool challenge to take on. And 3 years ago, as a newly graduated engineer, I did a Google News Lab fellowship at Dagens Nyheter during 8 weeks. And after the fellowship, I understood that the media industry was really a place where my passions and academic background could really come together and make a real impact.
Because your academic background is not primarily in journalism, right?
Exactly, I'm an engineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what
actually,
what
I had.
what triggered
Yeah.
you, so you could see that this was a good combination, could be a good combination?
Well, I would say that, as I already said, the digitalization is one of the greater challenges, I would say, for journalism today, how to handle the challenges that comes with digitalization, and engineering with an interest in journalism, I thought was a good combination to take on these challenges. And actually, I had already signed and was just 3 days from starting another job as a technology consultant. But during what was supposed to be my last day at Dagens Nyheter, they come up with a custom-made role just for me, and I just couldn't say no. So that was.
And what did
how
they
it
say?
started.
Why did they create this custom role especially for you? What did you do in order to get that?
Yeah, I guess I showed them that Dagens Nyheter really needed someone that had a good knowledge of the data and could show the newsroom how to use it in a good
Yeah.
way.
So
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
Yeah, so at the end, I took the role as a data scientist with editorial focus. So it's somewhere in the intersection of technology and journalism. And since 1.5 years, I'm also a team lead for the analytics team at Dagens Nyheter.
Yeah, but can you tell us a bit what you'd say if we were to follow you, to shadow you on a sort of regular week? How do you spend your time? What do you do?
Yeah, I would say, or at least when I try to like explain it to my parents, I would say that it's mostly about how to make the most out of each published article. It's about how we make our articles read by the right people in the right time and in the right place, and how we can make the readers feel more satisfied, engage more, and stay longer with us as subscribers. I study user behavior and reading patterns and subscription data, for example, and then use the insights to improve our offers, our campaigns, our products, and our journalism. So this means I spend about half of my time in the newsroom and the other half in the reader revenue department, or as my boss says, 80-80. It's not 50-50, it's 80-80.
So you make like 60 hours a week? Is that what he means? Or?
160% of my
Yeah.
week is spent. Yeah. But in the newsroom, it could be things like guiding the reporters, evaluating performance of the journalism, educating different digital tools, build and develop new editorial tools, etc.
Okay, so
And
you say, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting again. I have to be aware of maybe the bit of a lag.
No, in the read revenue department, it's more about setting up tests and evaluating tests, do prognosis and forecasts of both like the subscription base and guiding the marketers in what the data tells us about our subscribers.
Okay, and could you, if you're allowed to, could you tell us a bit about a specific insight which you've acted upon or told your team about, and then maybe tested something? How does that work? Just to give us an idea.
Oh, what could that be? Yeah. For example, it could be making a publication schema or schedule and when to publish what kind of articles. So, for example, we can see that our readers are really into like longer and like really advanced political articles and analysis. And for example, in Monday mornings, they are really into like some deep and societal articles. So, for example, you can adapt when you publish different stories depending on when the readers are extra accessible or extra interested in different topics. Does it make sense, or do you see what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. So these kind of insights, and what happens then? So you find that in the data, and then you go to your team and you say, "Well, I saw this on a Monday morning. This happens," and then what?
Yeah. Well, what about trying this? Try how we can publish articles when the readers seem to fit the readers. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said you would just promote it as a team lead. So how does it work? Maybe give us a bit more context about what DN is, because I think it started as a traditional newspaper, but you're digital first. You're entirely sort of switched to digital, if I'm not mistaken. And then you became a team lead. So how does that work? What kind of people does your team consist of?
Yeah. So Dagens Nyheter is one of Sweden's largest morning newspaper, and right now we have about 140,000 print subscribers, and almost double that digital subscribers. And it wasn't a long time ago when the digital subscribers exceeded the print subscribers. And we do, or most of our revenues comes from the readers, but we're still dependent on the ad revenues as well. And when it comes to my team, we consist of 5 people. So it's one more data scientist, one technical web analyst, and one market analyst, and one working more with like a project manager, but when it comes to product development.
So if I'm not mistaken, they're all data minded, because you say there are 2 data engineers, one web analytical person, one marketing, and the last one?
One data scientist, one additional data scientist, and one project team lead.
Yeah. And so can you share anything about a current project you're working on, or maybe a recent project you launched based upon the work your team did?
We do a lot of stuff.
You're going to show at the unboxing part.
Maybe we can save that. I don't know.
Yeah, I will save that. So I hope the viewers can stay on a bit longer and wait until that. Yeah.
But we do launch new editorial tools and dashboards and analytics tools, constantly, or more or less all the time. But we did launch new tools just before the summer. So I'll show one later. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I remember when you were in 2019, when you presented in Brussels for the new cohort of G&I fellows. You said you DN did some research on what kind of content, what kind of audience, or what kind of audiences, what type of content they consumed, and you got rid of 20% of all your new produced content, right? You said we don't have to produce these kind of articles anymore. Could you tell us a bit more about that project? Because I think it's quite interesting for a lot of our viewers.
It was about making a deeper look into what material we published and what material that didn't really get read, and we thought about why. So basically, we published a lot of like stock release or stock market updates and short sport notes and things like that no one read. and we did a larger work on what DN should be to the readers, and we thought that some of these content that we produce today might not it doesn't really expect this from DN, so we go more or we focus more on quality journalism and longer stories, be better at investigative journalism and breaking news rather than a lot of shorter articles.
So could you say that you really tried to see what DN thought their signature should be and what the audience expected of you, and sort of looked into the data, if that could tell you something, and then experimented with, if we don't produce or write or publish these kinds of articles anymore, let's see what happens. And I can imagine, because I've discussed this very project with different people in the industry in different countries, and a lot of people, especially from, say, legacy newspapers, they would say, but people expect this of you, to bring this kind of information. What did people at the end say, or maybe your audience?
Yeah, I guess the audience didn't even notice because no one read it, and I think a lot of journalists thought that it was a relief. Actually, they also want to work with the longer stories, the quality journalism, the things that we are best at. So I think no one got sad. It was just a positive thing for everyone, I think.
At the comments, by the way, hello Sarah from Switzerland. Nice to have you on board. And then Anne Maria said, was it a relief for a journalist? But you already answered that question. But this one might be interesting. How did the newsroom react in producing less content? What did the journalists in the newsroom say about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was about producing less content, but it was spending more time on the content that you actually produced. So they could spend more time on doing graphics and making a really nice digital presentation, and spend more time on info cards and things like that. So in the end, we still wanted the readers to spend as much or equally much or the same amount of time at the end, of course. But at the stories that we really wanted them to read.
Yeah. Did this only apply to online, or also on the printed edition? Because you still do printed editions daily, right?
We do, yeah. Mostly online.
Mostly online. Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem is that online there's room for all articles, and that is the problem. So in the paper, there is still, you have to choose which articles to fit and put in the paper. But
what do you say to the online journalists? Because they could have the argument and say, well, there's enough space. We could also we can still do these kinds of articles, this kind of content.
At Dagens Nyheter, it's actually, we don't have print journalists and digital journalists.
Great, of course.
Yeah. But no, they enjoy spending more time at doing better articles rather than many articles.
Yeah. There's a good question from Tom. He says, hi, Lovisa, how do you explain your role to the journalists and editors in the newsroom? What kind of questions are you hoping they will ask? That's an interesting question.
Oh, I hope that the questions that they would ask me is more like, who are my readers, and how can we find content that they want to read, and how do I understand them better? Because in the end, it's all about them.
And these are the questions you're hoping that they will ask? Can you answer them? Can you answer those questions?
Yeah, to some extent, of course I can.
Yeah. So who are my readers, and what do you normally answer then if a journalist comes up to you and asks you this?
Oh, it depends on what they write about, of course. But
say it's advanced politics, like the example you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised actually, because Dagens Nyheter is pretty good at attracting both younger and older readers when it comes to politics and in-depth analysis. And yeah, most of them, the digital subscribers actually live in like all parts of Sweden, but the print subscribers are mostly based in Stockholm.
What's the rationale for that? Is there an explanation to that?
I guess the price is different when it comes to print in different parts, or depending on where you live in Sweden. But
And the inhabitants of
digital
Stockholm
is
are they can afford to buy print subscriptions.
perhaps, yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you've answered Anne Mariah's question and Tom's question as well, and maybe they could let us know if you did, and otherwise we have a live Q&A later on. I would like to propose to go to the next section, and that's lately in the industry, and I've made a small banner, so let me put this up. So lately in the industry, this is where we said we could look at some examples of things we've come across these last few months, last few weeks maybe. And so I've asked you if you've seen anything, and is there anything you would like to show or address?
Well, you can go first. I
Yeah.
think I have some things to show in the live demo later, but
Okay. Then I will pick our next item, because this is a First Draft News. That's a British non-profit organization and has expertise, and they call themselves a thought leader around the challenges posed by misinformation or information disorder, as they like to call it. And they've rolled out a SMS or text/WhatsApp course, protection from deception, and it's a free 2-week text message course to help people prepare for misinformation. And I think it's especially aimed at Americans with the upcoming elections. And well, you can name a time, and every day, and a time of day, and then every day a message appears in your WhatsApp with images and extra links, and it looks like this. And I thought it was quite interesting. So let me show the example. These are some screenshots I took from the lessons I followed. So they do definitions. You get these kinds of images about what is disinformation, what is misinformation. Another one was about tactics and techniques. And I must say I've actually learned something, because I think it was in this lesson 8. So I think it's 10 days. So you get these nuggets of information daily. And I really learned something on day 8, because they say second best is to get an influencer or a newsroom. I'm reading this from my notes. Is to get an influencer or a newsroom to debunk the rumor. It sounds odd, but simply by reporting the rumor, they are giving it oxygen and can fuel the fire. This is a tactic used by white supremacists in the past. Has been to post a few flyers on a college campus announcing an event or protest, and they hope that the college newspaper will report it as a fact, and that will lead to national coverage, giving it exposure to their cause. And I thought, wow, this is a really interesting tactic, which I wasn't aware of. Do you happen to have these kinds of maybe communities or groups that are applying these tactics in Sweden that you know of?
oh wow, I don't really know actually. But I really like the idea of having like small updates and get it in your phone to just be reminded by it often, and not just a one-time thing that you do. Yeah.
So would this be something that would fit DN to offer as a service to a certain type of demographic or readership, to have this kind of courses? Do you do this kind of, you could call it service journalism or something?
Yeah, probably, yes.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the DN readers are really into knowledge, and we just launched a quiz app that the readers love, and I think this could be like the other part, or the other side of it could be like first take the course and then take the quiz or something like that.
Yeah, interesting. So then you make a combination of that. Yeah, cool. So, and then there's another thing, and I must admit that I don't find immediate relevance for journalists that are publishing content, but it could be for research or maybe the entertainment section. This is something called, maybe you've come across it, called .app, and it's MMH.app. And its founder joked it's important to have a name you can say while eating, so that's why it's called mm-hmm. And it's a virtual camera that can be used with Zoom, Google Meet, YouTube, and other video streaming services. And this mm-hmm, they consider themselves a new and better way to communicate over video. It's created by Phil Libin, and he used to lead Evernote, which I think most people are familiar with, the note taking. And well, it grew much bigger than just note taking. It's in private beta, and here you can see, so you can use some sort of slides and backgrounds, and there are these things where you can personalize colors, and you can have animated backgrounds and all kinds of stuff. And then, well, it looks like this. So this is the room you're in, or the presenter. And I've done, if I may, done a little experiment myself, and this is the result of that. But let's keep it here for now. So yeah, there's two things to share. The first one was quite serious, the first draft news WhatsApp course, and this is a video. I don't know, reinventing the video webcam meeting. Obviously, during the COVID-19, people got bored by using the same images, and this could be a relief for some. But I don't know what the journalistic approach or application would be. Do you have any idea? Any suggestions?
Well, I think this would definitely spice up the all those dull video meetings. Yeah. So definitely.
Maybe when you're doing with your team doing brainstorms for new products over video, this might help to get you in the right mood.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Inspiring.
Well, let's go finish this item, and we'll go on to the next item. And I've got a little banner again, and let me show it. And that's the stop it journalist. So this is what journalists should stop doing, and this is what journalists should start doing, according to you. So, Lovisa, I've asked you, could you let us know what your best advice would be? And I know it's a hard question, probably, but
yeah, it's hard, but I thought about it, and this might feel strange to hear from a data scientist, but I'd say that we need to stop having an overbelief in what data can do. And don't get me wrong, because data and advanced analytics and AI is amazing, but data alone is logic. It's not magic. Data and analytics are guiding tools, but not a secret sauce. So, for example, sometimes I get a question, can you tell us what to write about? And yes, I can give you topics that your readers seem to like, and I can tell you, or I can tell the journalists how they usually read your stories. I can tell you how you should write even, or when to publish, or things like that. Yep. But I cannot write it for you. Or of course, me, data, and some lines of code can produce text, but it won't be very good yet. Yeah. And what I want to say with this is that journalism is so much more than just words on a paper or on a screen, and we need to have that in mind.
Yeah,
I believe.
But do you, if I may ask, do you actually do these experiments to see if you can come up with, say, so what people call robot journalism, or machine learning generated text, like natural language processing? Do you do these kinds of experiments?
Yeah, we did. We did newsletters, for example, with robot journalism and auto-produced text. But yeah, I would say that's not really what journalism do, or journalism is to me, and what makes it really worth paying for Dagens Nyheter, at least. But of course, it could be an additional service. But
yeah. And we see it applied to sort of, I think, stock market information and sports analyses, but coverage, just as a sort of what happened, which is sort of really structured and following a logical pattern, right? Those things quite automated.
Yeah. And for example, at the end, we usually say that we are data informed, not data driven. And some might claim that there's no difference, but to us it is, because, I mean, for example, during the spring and the COVID pandemic, we had more readers than ever before. So the business logic would have told us that the right thing to do would be to sell as many subscriptions as possible, or maybe even raise the price to earn as much money as possible. But what we did was actually the opposite. We gave trial subscriptions for free during the most intense period. because we thought it was important for as many people as possible to get access to correct information and quality journalism. And what happened afterwards was that a lot of those trial subscriptions actually turned into paying subscriptions.
Yeah.
So today we have more paying digital subscribers than ever. And this, I think, shows that we can both do societal good and have a sustainable business model. But
Yeah, because people call this, I think, the pandemic bump, like you have a Trump bump. And aren't
exactly,
you afraid
yeah.
that maybe if the pandemic sort of hopefully sort of diminishes or goes away, those people might not renew their subscriptions? Are you how do you counter that, or how are you thinking about that in the newsroom?
Yeah, we focus a lot about onboarding and monitoring the user behaviors and see how we can what we can do to make them stay longer, as well as having good offers that makes them step by step go into fully paying subscribers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. As you said, so journalists should stop treating data as magic. You say it's logic. And then, so to turn this into another positive note, I've asked you also to hear your advice on what journalists should start doing, learning, trying tomorrow. What would that be?
Yeah, it might sound as a cliche, but I really think that more of us should start embracing diversity and see different backgrounds and experiences as an asset in the innovation work. Because I think that the future of journalism is too important to just be handled by only journalists or only developers or analysts only. Because I think that
Do you tell traditional journalists at your newsroom the same thing? If there might be people who work for 25 years at DN, do you say the same thing to them as you tell our viewers to now?
I do, yeah. Because I think that what we need to do is to come together, and I think that we are better together. Because we need all kinds of, when we come together, for example, people working with graphics and developers and analysts and people from marketing department and political experts and so on. I believe that when we come together, we can create the best coverage of the most important topics, as well as coming up with the best ideas about how to build a sustainable business. So I think think broader when you're about to invite your colleagues for a workshop, or when taking strategic decisions or planning journalistic jobs. I would say, at least at Dagens Nyheter, cross-functional teams in combination with agile ways of working has been the key success factor for our subscription business.
Yeah, so you say agile way of working, cross-functional teams, so members from engineering, design, marketing, journalism.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine that maybe people watching saying, yeah, this is easier said than done. So you've done this, right? You work in cross-functional teams. So how did you manage to establish it and have the team perform? What are the little tricks, or maybe the bigger things you have to be aware of or take into account?
I think as long as all of them want the best for the business, I think that at least we do better if we do it together. And we see the benefits of having lots of different kinds of view on the problem that we're about to solve together. And usually when you talk about cross-functional teams, you say cross-functional according to academic background or roles in their company. But I mean, it could also be in terms of age or gender or experience. And I mean, look at your reader base, for example, and ask yourself, how can you make a team that looks like them? Because it's about it's the problems that we should solve to make it better for them, for the readers.
Okay. Well, that's some good advice on stopping and on starting and inviting, integrating people from different areas with different ages, backgrounds, expertise, and have them from moment one. And also, you said the HR department. When you have a sort of a job opening, then they have to consult the entire team instead of just the journalist or just the engineer, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, really interesting. We're going to go into our fourth item, and I'm going to show a banner again, and then we go in because it's time to do the live Q&A. So we've got one question right here from Anne Mariah, and she says, "How do you get together working from home?" So just a very practical question, but interesting, of course.
Yeah, tricky question. I don't know if you've heard about the Swedish term fika. You know about that? It's like fika.
Yeah,
It's a typical Swedish thing. You take a cup of coffee and you take a small biscuit, and then you sit and chat. So fika is more like come together, a small meeting over coffee, and we do fika pauses every day. So we meet with
every
with a
day.
team.
Yeah. And how long does that meeting take?
10 or 15 minutes maybe. It's
Yeah.
just to get to talk about something else than just work.
So that's why you do that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I hope you've answered Anne Mariah's question. So you say do fika every day.
Yeah.
What time? What would be a good time to do that?
Yeah, in the afternoon, so you have
Afternoon.
some blood sugar.
Okay.
So at 3 o'clock, I would say.
3 o'clock, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I hope we've answered Anne Mariah's question. I've got a question from someone else in the industry who I mentioned that we will be doing this, and he said it's Bart from the Netherlands, and he said, "Is it hard to get the right data, or is it harder to do the right analysis based on the data?"
A tricky question. I would say getting the data. I mean, get the right data and make sure it's reliable. It's super tricky, and doing the analysis is more or less doing it by the book. If you have the statistics, you have the programming and some common sense, you'd be fine. But many times the analysis failed because we cannot get the data. For example, if we want to analyze print reader behavior, that would be super easy if we just had the data on print readers, but we don't.
Do you have workarounds for that?
We look at the e-paper. That's the at least it's similar behavior, I would say.
Yeah, the e-paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, analyzing that could be hard too. Sometimes you try to find patterns that doesn't exist, or you try to find some kind of logic in reader behavior when there is no logic, because people sometimes act in a way that you can't explain, not even with data.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. And there's a new question from Tom. Let's put this on as well. What are the key tools you use for your data gathering and analysis? What tools do you wish you had? So 2 questions there.
Oh, wow. Well, data gathering, we have a data lake, so we gather all the data in a lake, and we
Data
use
lake.
and we use Google BigQuery. But I also do Python and R sometimes, and Google Analytics sometimes.
Those are programming languages, R and Python, you say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what tools I wish I had? Oh, we build most of our tools ourselves, but
is there a particular reason for that you build it yourself?
Being independent, I would say, and be able to customize, really to get the KPIs that we want, and to be able to change when we feel that KPIs or the visualization doesn't work anymore or so. So.
But you're with Dagens Nyheter, you're part of the Bonnier group, right? Bonnier News Group.
Yeah.
So do you exchange tools with different titles, different papers?
Yeah, at least I'm part of a team that build editorial tools, and we scale the tools that we build so that it could be used within the entire group.
Yeah. Okay. I hope we've answered the next questions as well. The tools you wish you had, did you answer? Yeah, you.
Right now, I would sometimes try to build a tool that can predict what kinds of topics that are popping, or that our readers are interested in but cannot find at our site, for example.
Yeah.
That would be cool to build, I'd say.
So how do you work around this sort of challenge at this point?
Right now we are more like reactive rather than proactive. So we like can only handle it when there's when we have written something about it, or of course we can look at like Google searches or searches and try to find things that we haven't written about yet. But yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. So you're looking for a sort of predictive demand, not just predictive, but to get sort of the actual demand. So what are people? What's the intent of the search, or what are they? What kind of?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I hope we've answered Tom's question. You've answered Tom's question. It says, "Gotta run," but thanks both. Super interesting. Looking forward to more episodes. Thank you, Tom. That's nice to hear. So this was item number 5, the live Q&A. And now we've got one thing left, and I think it's attached to this last question about what kind of tools you wish you had and building your custom tools, because I think you've got something for our last and final item, and that's unboxing. Yeah. And then we have to switch over to your screen. You're going to do a live demo of 2 tools you use, I think, right?
I will. Yeah.
Let me add this to the stream and then tell us what you're showing right now.
Yeah, so I mentioned previously editorial tools. So this is a tool that we just launched before the summer, or
What's
at
it
least
called?
a newer version. It's called I Inblick. It says here. It means insight. So this is an article published on Dagens Nyheter, and you have some metadata, and you have some different KPIs, and you have engagement scores, page views over time. You can find information about the percentage of people that read at least half of the article. So we call it like the reading depth, basically.
Reading depth. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You yeah. So how many people that spend at least or at least half of the time that is required to finish the article.
And who's using this tool? Is it all kinds of people in the newsroom, or?
Yeah, exactly. Both editors and journalists that want to see how the article perform, and so I can show you how it's used.
Yeah.
Here. So, or how you get into the analytics mode. So if you, for example, want to see how this article perform,
can you translate a bit
into the article? This,
for the ones who don't speak Swedish.
This is Dagens Nyheter, by the way. Yeah. So this is about the health authority, and it's about 500 people should be the upper. The maximum amount of people in, for example,
public gatherings.
Yeah, exactly, public gatherings. Yeah. Thank you. So then you just click on the bookmark, and yeah, here we go. So you have some information about it. It's super accessible and easy to follow. So this is a tool that we improve all the time, and we look forward to keep on building on it.
And is this the journalist, the individual journalist, or does it help you as a team? So what kind of answers does it give you, or insights?
Sorry, once again.
So you say individual journalists use this, or you use this as a team? So what kind of answers or insights does it actually give you? Is there a call to action?
Yeah, for example, if you see where the readers come from, you can if you can see that it performs very well on Google, for example, you can see that maybe this is a topic that more people are Googling right now. Maybe it's a topic that we should write more about, or how well this article manages to inspire, to get the readers to read more on this topic, and how long they stay. So, I mean, the reading depth, they also kind of feedback to the journalists about how well they have managed to keep the readers staying and reading this article, for example. But that might be a good next step, to have more like call to actions.
Yeah.
And this is another tool. It's a tool that I use a lot, but it's actually built by a guy called Max working in my team. And you can see this is also the Dagens Nyheter front page, and then there is different colors. So the more red, like this one is pretty red, means that it's a majority of female mentions in the article. And these ones are pretty blue, meaning it's a majority of men or male mentions in the article. So it's a text analysis.
And this was built in order to
raise awareness and to make it very easy to quickly get an overview about the gender share at the front page right now.
Yeah. And was it commissioned by maybe the head of the newsroom, or did your coworker Max decided on, let's build this? How does it work?
I think it was actually coming from the analytics department.
Yeah, they wanted to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you for unboxing, for showing us these two tools. The first one was Inblick with the insights, and the second one was called again.
It's called PIF. It's a strange name, but
okay. Well, we've come to the end, so let me just hide the title. So Lovisa, thank you. Thank you for telling us today what you do at DN, what advice you have to your fellow innovators in journalism in Europe or all across the globe. And it's really nice to have these insights and your experiences. And let me quote you again about data, that it's not magic, but it's more about logic. And thank you for sharing these experience and your wisdom, your best practices. What will you be doing over these next few months, these last months of 2020?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a lot about handling the COVID bump, I would say, keeping them happy and satisfied. As I said, we have more readers than ever, and we think that data can make their experience much better. So it's taking care about them.
Okay, well, that's nice. That's a good thing for the rest of 2020. Let's hope 2021 will be a much better year for everyone. Right. Yeah. And on a professional, but also on the personal level. Well, thank you for joining us today. Really
Thanks
appreciate what you've told, and take care, stay safe, and good luck with all the new challenges and this post-pandemic bump work you have. Thank you. It's been very nice.
Thank you.
And to the viewers, I would like to say, we hope that you, their audience, fellow innovators, can take Lovisa's ideas and ways of working and help improve your journalism or your organization, or the way you improve your products and or create new products. Thank you for watching. I thank you for listening, maybe as a podcast. Don't subscribe to the channel. Do subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to what I was saying. And see you back next time with another guest, another innovator in journalism, for another future of journalism. Bye.